Hello, folks, and welcome to One to Deploy. I'm your host, Daniel Martin, and in today's episode, we are going to demystify some crypto terms. Crypto can feel like a secret club with its own language. DEX, L2, slippage, oracles, staking, bridges. Today, I'm breaking down the jargon into everyday terms, with examples you can explain to your mum at Sunday lunch, or in my case, your dad over the phone on a Monday afternoon. No hype, just clear thinking. Educational, non-financial advice. Number 1, CEX versus DEX. Bank versus farmers market. So, CEX stands for centralized exchange. Think of it as a bank-run trading app. You sign up, you prove your ID, you send money, and they hold it for you. You trade inside their system, and they update a database. For example, the big brand names that you see in the news, things like Binance and Crypto.com. The pros here are there's an easy on-ramp for money, customer support, limit orders and stop losses. Sometimes there's also lower slippages on big trades. The flip side is you're trusting a company. If they freeze withdrawals, get hacked or go bust, your funds can be stuck. The truth of the matter is your funds go up in smoke. You also hand over your identity, KYC, which is Know Your Customer. One of the key things here with centralized exchanges is a thing called a custodial wallet. In other words, the wallet that holds your funds, be they crypto coins or anything else, is held with the business. Custodial meaning they do it on your behalf. By contrast, a decentralized exchange, DEX or DEX for short. This is a self-service market built from code on a blockchain. There are no accounts. There is no, deposit to the house, so to speak. You connect your wallet that would be on your phone or computer and trade peer to pool. I'll explain what the pool part is later. Smart contracts do the swap, instantly on chain. Examples feel like apps inside your wallet browser. It doesn't feel like you're signing up for something. The pros here are you keep complete control of your funds. There is no sign up and it's global access. It's also composable with other apps, so you can use it within other applications. By contrast, you pay the network fee, the gas fee, so to speak, as it's known. I'll explain that later too. You manage your own security, and if you mess up an approval or you pick a dodgy token, there's no help desk. It's all on you. You retain complete control. So in plain English, we have CEX is, quote, trust the business, and DEX is, quote, trust the code, and of course, yourself. Number 2, wallets, keys, and seed phrases. Email address, password, and master key. So first up, public address or public key. So this is like your email address. It is safe to share. People send your crypto here, a little bit like your bank account number. If people have your bank account number, they can't do a lot with it, but they can send you funds. By contrast, your private key is like your email address's password or the login to your internet banking. Anyone who has it can quite literally empty your account in a heartbeat. Never share it, ever. And that is so incredibly paramount, it's not funny. I have done that by accident myself in the past. It was only $90 that I lost, but the speed at which it happened bent my mind. And then we have the seed phrase. So the seed phrase is 12 to 24 words, and this is essentially the master key that can regenerate your private key and wallet on any device. Write it down on paper or metal, and I say metal quite literally. Never store it in screenshots, notes, emails, or iCloud. The seed phrase is the thing that can completely recreate your wallet and give someone else complete access to everything that you own. Hot versus cold wallets. You may have heard of this terminology before. A hot wallet is something on a device like a phone or a computer. It is always connected. It is convenient, but it is much more exposed. If you use something like MetaMask and it is attached to your browser like Firefox, for example, that is a hot wallet and it is permanently connected, but also always exposed. By contrast, There are these things called hardware wallets or cold wallets. These are USB-like devices. They're not actually USB keys in the way they might appear, and they keep your keys offline. You have to actually press a physical button to approve transactions. It is dramatically slower, but it is far safer for the saving of time. The rule is this: not your keys, not your coins. If a company holds the keys, they control the money. If you control the keys, you control the money. Number 3, layer 1 versus layer 2. So this gets a little bit geeky, and you'll see the terminology pop up from time to time. It is the highway and the toll bypass. So layer 1 or L1, that is the main base chain. Common terms like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Every transaction settles here like cars on the highway. When it's busy, it's slow and the tolls rise. Layer 2 is fast lanes that are built on top of layer 1, ergo layer 1 and layer 2. They may batch many transactions, then post summaries back to layer 1. You get speed and lower fees without giving up the security of the base chain. Some types of layer 2s in simple terms. Firstly, you have optimistic rollups, so they assume that transactions are fine and give people time to challenge fraud. Secondly, zero-knowledge rollups. Provide cryptographic proofs up front that everything checks out. And then we have side chains, separate roads with their own police force or security. They're cheaper, but you're trusting an entirely different set of guards. So they are 3 different types of layer 2s that you can utilize that will go on top of a layer 1 and do things better for you, but they come with their own, I suppose, technical cost or potential risk that might be associated. But the everyday take is this. Layer 1 is the settlement court. Ultimately, it's the final decision. Layer 2 is the fast magistrates court that files the final judgment back to the main court. Number 4, gas fees, postage and express postage. Every blockchain charges a network fee to process your transaction. It's like postage. Complex actions like trading via a smart contract cost more than simple sends. When demands spike, postage surges. So a tip here to save is to use layer 2s, the L2s I spoke about before, or perhaps transact off-peak or batch actions together, and that will save you money on the gas fees or the network charges. You can also then change these settings in your wallets. So you have the option to do gas settings within your wallets. You can change things like the base fee, so the minimum that you will accept, a priority tip to jump the queue, and you can set a gas limit. So this is a cap on how much your transaction can do. You might potentially set it too low and it will in fact still fail, but you might pay some of the fee in the process because it begun to execute. So when you're interacting with a network, within your own wallet, you can change those settings and you will optimize the money that you spend. Number 5, smart contracts. These are vending machines with rules. A smart contract is an on-chain program. Put the right input in, it runs predictably and spits out the result. No clerk, no manager, just rules. In some of my other podcasts, I've spoken about how crypto will potentially replace things such as housing transactions or large commercial transactions. It will be smart contracts that happens within, because within a smart contract, once those rules are set, they are irreplaceable and they are unbreakable. So that means you can trust that all parties involved in a transaction will behave, because the output won't be released until the smart contract is satisfied. The strengths here are automation, transparency, and no single person can fiddle with the ledger. The risk here is code is law. So if a bug exists, the machine will happily do the wrong thing forever until it is fixed, or pause. If you can in fact do that, you can't always do that. So with smart contracts, you want to look for things like audits and battle-tested code, which is a crypto world thing. Number 6, AMMs, liquidity pools, and impermanent loss. The esky and the seesaw. So AMMs are automated market makers. AMM, automated market maker. So instead of an order book, prices are set by a formula in a liquidity pool, a shared pot of two tokens. For example, the token and a stable coin. So that might be, say, Ethereum and USD. That is the token versus the stable coin. Traders swap in and out of the pot, not with another buyer. The price moves along a curve, so think of it more like a seesaw. Liquidity providers add both tokens to stock that esky and they earn fees. So a liquidity provider is someone that says, I've got both tokens in that pair, let's say Ethereum and USD. They add to the liquidity pool to allow other people to trade, and they earn fees when every swap occurs. An impermanent loss. So if one token's price runs hard, so it races away, the pool rebalances you into more of an underperformer and less of the winner. Compared to simply holding, you can end up behind unless fees earned offset it. It's called impermanent because if prices return to the original ratio, the loss shrinks, but if you withdraw whilst it's skewed, then your loss is locked. And that's referring to a liquidity provider. So if you've been a liquidity provider, you can end up with an impermanent loss based on that balance changing rapidly within a moment. If the fees that you earn don't offset that loss, then you can be down quite a long way. But that's the game. In plain English, you are the corner shop doing constant swaps at a posted spread. If Coke suddenly doubles in price, you'll end up holding more of Sprite unless your prices update fast enough and your fees can compensate. Number 7, slippage and price impact. Walking into a tiny shop with a big order. So slippage is the difference between the price you expect and the price that you actually get. If you try to buy a large amount from a small pool, you actually move the price against yourself by virtue of the size of the pool. The controls can be put in place here. To set a slippage tolerance, so you might say 0.5% to 1%. If you set that slippage tolerance too low, then you'll end up with a failed trade. If you set it too high, you risk a bad fill and your price will be away from what you actually intended to get. So slippage is all about saying when you make that purchase, if it's on a token that is of a lower volume, not value, but volume, then you may in fact affect the price simply by virtue of the number that you're buying. You want to set a slippage tolerance on your trade to ensure that you don't buy badly. Number 8, approvals and allowances. Let a cleaner use your key, but only to the laundry. So before a DEX, a decentralized exchange, can move your tokens, you need to approve it by granting them a thing called an allowance. Think of it as giving a shop permission to charge your card, but up to a limit. And you can revoke allowances later using your own permissions manager. That means that, for example, if you had a credit card and you walked into the store and said, I'm going to buy this thing today, you know the thing is maybe $100, but then you decide, actually, I'm going to allow them to take $150 in case there's maybe a surcharge or an upsell or something. But you don't trust them enough to say, I'm going to allow you to take more than that. So you set the allowance at $150 and you approve it. You do the transaction, you get your stuff, you walk out the door and you say, right, that was cool, but I'm going to remove their access right now. So even if they happen to store my card number, as they all do effectively, they can't charge it because I've removed the approval. Never mind the allowance, I've removed the approval entirely and they can't charge me again. There is a trap here. And the trap is this: unlimited approvals can be convenient because you're allowing anyone to transact with you at any point in time, but they're risky if the contract that you are interacting with becomes compromised. It is better to do per use or limited approvals when you're engaging with third-party applications. Number 9, bridges and wrapped tokens. So this is like a coat check and claim tickets. Different chains are different venues. To move value between them, you have to use a thing called a bridge. You lock your coin on chain A and you receive a wrapped version of it on chain B. So a real world example of that is WBTC on Ethereum because Bitcoin doesn't exist on Ethereum. Bitcoin exists in its own chain. So WBTC is wrapped Bitcoin available on Ethereum. Here's the analogy. Hand your coat to the cloakroom and you get a ticket. That ticket represents your coat elsewhere. Go about your day, you come back later on, you use that ticket to then reclaim your coat. The risk is this. If the cloakroom loses your coat, i.e. in technical terms a bridge hack, then your ticket becomes worthless. Blue chip bridges and native L2, layer 2 bridges tend to be safer than random ones. So if you are going to bridge between chains, I personally don't like the idea, but it's possible. If you're going to bridge between chains, you are better off doing it with a blue chip bridge that has been around for a long time and that everybody knows. Number 10, altcoins explained. Everyone's heard the term altcoin. If you haven't, it's also called a shitcoin. Altcoins explained. Let's say Doge versus Ethereum. Categories, not just coins. Okay, so an altcoin basically means anything that isn't Ethereum. Sorry, say that again. It is anything that isn't Bitcoin, but they're not all the same. So an altcoin isn't a fair bucket. There are many different types of altcoins. Here are some of them. First up, we have smart contract platforms. These are things like Ethereum and Solana. They are essentially operating systems where apps can run. So whilst they are cryptocurrency tokens in their own right, developers can develop smart contracts, as I have done, and deploy them on both Solana and Ethereum, again, as I have done. And for those of you out there wondering, don't ever touch Solana in my opinion, it's a disaster. Ethereum is a great place to run applications, and it is highly, highly secure. That is a form of altcoin. Secondly, we have layer 2 tokens. So these are fast lanes, for example, on top of Ethereum. You have DeFi tokens. So these are tokens that run exchanges or they do lending platforms. They might be DEX governance tokens. They are things that are doing financial applications on a blockchain. You have infrastructure tokens. These are oracles. I'll talk about what they are later. Oracles that feed real-world data into blockchains. An example of that can be currency pricing oracles that tell a blockchain or tell users of a blockchain what the current price of a token pair is. You have exchange tokens. These are perks that are on a specific platform. We've all heard these, meme coins. These are for culture and community. Utility is optional. Well, utility is usually negligible. Basically what this is a meme coin is a token that gets created. It has a picture associated with it. Yes, I'm not kidding. It is quite literally just a picture. And that picture then creates a culture and a community around it. People do things with that picture for fun. And the token is associated with that, and it will go up and down in value based on the meme coin's interest and that the humor that that image might provide. You have privacy coins. These coins focus on obfuscating transactions. There are a number out there. Monero is one of them that hide transaction details from people, and unlike almost every other blockchain, the blockchains are not public and you can't read them. And then you have stable coins. So stable coins also fall under the category of altcoins, and these are pegged to currencies. The main ones there are USDT and USDC. USDT is the USD equivalent living on Ethereum. USDC is the USD equivalent living on Solana. These are pegged to their denominated currencies, and they do not change. As an example here, I'd like to compare Doge with Ethereum. Now, if you've ever heard anything from good old Mr. Elon Musk, you will have heard of Dogecoin. He's a big fan of it. He didn't create it. But I'd like to compare the two so you get a picture of the differences that can exist within altcoins. So, Dogecoin is a meme-born coin. It is a simple payments coin. It uses mining, has ongoing inflation, so new coins can be generated forever, and it doesn't host any complex applications. It's basically, it's like a funny souvenir banknote that people decided to actually use. Ethereum, on the other hand, is a fully programmable platform. It moved from mining to staking. It runs smart contracts. It hosts thousands of applications, including Kim, our platform. and its coin, ETH, is used to fuel the network. It's more like an app store and a fuel token than it is some digital cash meme. The bottom line here is Doge is mostly for culture and payments, some payments. Ethereum is programmable money and an app platform. Number 11, mining, staking, and validators. Digging versus parking your cash to secure the network. Mining is, brackets, proof of work. Basically, computers compete to solve puzzles. The winner writes the next block and earns coins in reward. It's energy intensive, but it is time tested. Staking, or proof of stake, you lock your coins as a bond. Validators take turns at writing blocks, misbehave, and you get slashed. It uses far less energy. Everyday view, mining is a game of expensive shovels. Staking is a game of good behavior and deposits. 12, blocks, blockchain, hashes, and finality. Pages, book, fingerprint, stamped, and file. A block is a page of transactions. A blockchain is the book, pages linked in order. The hash is a digital fingerprint of a page. Change any letter on the page, and the fingerprint changes completely. Finality is the moment that a transaction is considered irreversible. Think of it as stamped by the court clerk. Some networks are instant, others recommend waiting a few blocks for safety. Number 13, oracles, the thermometer on the wall. Blockchains can't see the real world. Oracles bring in facts, things like weather, prices, even sports scores. An analogy is this: a trusted thermometer that reports the temperature into a sealed room. If the thermometer lies, the room can make bad decisions. Good oracle design spreads trust across many sources. Number 14, stablecoins. Digital cash with different backing. There are 3 different types of stablecoins, and they are as follows. Firstly, fiat-backed. These are tokens that are backed one for one with cash or treasuries at a company. They're easy to understand, and trust depends on reserves and regulation. Then we have crypto-backed. These are over-collateralized with other crypto, and the rules are enforced by smart contracts. And lastly, we have algorithmic. They try to hold a peg via incentives. In doing so, some have failed pretty spectacularly. What's their use? Well, it's usually for parking profits, moving money between platforms, or settling trades without volatility. The risk is a bank run or a collateral risk. Not all dollars are equal. Number 15, tokenomics. Who owns what, when, and how supply changes. So, tokenomics are the definition of how a token is spread or how it is disseminated. Key facts. Firstly, supply. Is it fixed? Is it capped? Or is it inflating? Is there any burning involved, which means destroying tokens? Or is there any new minting involved, so creating more tokens? Distribution. How much goes to a team, or to investors, or to the community? Are there vesting cliffs where unlocks happen all at once? Then we have market cap versus FDV, which is fully diluted valuation. Market cap is quite simply, as it would be in the share market, price by tokens currently circulating. FDV, on the other hand, is price by total tokens that ever existed. In plain English, we're talking about tokenomics is the cap table plus issuance schedule plus incentives. It tells you who gets paid, when and why users should care. Number 16, DAOs and governance tokens, the club with voting shares. A DAO is a group that runs on rules in a smart contract. Hold the governance token, get a vote. Proposals, quorum, and treasury are all transparent. The reality check here is the vibes are great, but execution does matter. If 5 whales own 60% of the votes, then it's all pretty top heavy and really no one is getting a fair vote. Number 17, airdrops. Essentially, free samples for early customers. Projects will sometimes gift tokens to early users. It's a marketing ploy, plus it is decentralization. Get the token into the hands of people who actually use the product. Caveat here, Sybil farming. So people will fake thousands of accounts to farm drops. In other words, they try and get as many of these drops as they can through a whole bunch of fake accounts to build up a pool for when the thing goes live. Ultimately, that has then led to stricter rules around airdrops. Be careful with those. Number 18, TVL and volume. This is really important. How big is the pool and how much the water moves? So TVL is total value locked. How much money sits in a protocol? Larger TVL usually means deeper liquidity and less slippage. Volume, by contrast, is how much trading happens. So high volume equals easier to get in and out at a fair price. Number 19, MEV and sandwich attacks. Line jumping at the checkout. MEV is maximal extractable value. The extra profit searchers and validators make by reordering transactions. So what they're trying to do here is control the maximal extractable value. By contrast, you will sometimes see a thing called a sandwich attack. A bot will see your buy and jumps in before you to push the price up, lets your trade execute at a worse price, and then sells after. So the bot has seen your trade, has put a trade in just before you, pushes your price up, it gets a win, and it sells out, and then you lose. How you defend? You set tight slippage, you use private relays where supported, or you trade on deeper pools /L2s. Number 20, reorgs and confirmations. Refiling that last page. Occasionally two versions of the latest block will appear. This happens sometimes. The network picks one and discards the other. This is called a reorganization. That's why people say wait n confirmations, so wait a number of confirmations before a transaction completes. The more blocks after yours equals a safer transaction. Number 21, on-ramps, off-ramps, and KYC. Getting in and out of the pool. This one's fairly easy. An on-ramp turns dollars into crypto. So by card or bank transfer, something like that. In Australia, a common one is CoinSpot, where you would put real money in, so Australian dollars in, and then you can turn it into crypto. They take a fee for that. By contrast, you then have off-ramps. An off-ramp is the reverse of that, turning crypto back into dollars. Again, CoinSpot is an example of that, but there are more spots where you can off-ramp generally than there are on-ramp, because off-ramping doesn't require KYC as much as on-ramp does. Most regulated ramps, though, require KYC, know your customer, which is ID checks. By contrast, though, DEXs, so decentralized exchanges, don't convert dollars. They swap tokens, which means if you're using a DEX, you won't need KYC because they don't deal with fiat tokens. You will, however, still need a ramp to touch your bank account at some point to get money out into the crypto world. Number 22, halving. The mine pays out less every few years. So on some chains, and this is famous on Bitcoin, the mining reward halves on a schedule. It's like a gold mine that cuts productivity in half periodically. New supply slows, which is part of the scarcity story. This happens every few years, and you will hear it called a halving event. Number 23, burning and minting. Shredding notes versus printing notes. A burn is quite simply to permanently destroy tokens. What you do is you send it to an unspendable address, and this reduces supply. So it increases the value of what is available. By contrast, a mint is to create new tokens. Things for, say, rewards or emissions or vesting. This increases supply and will ultimately, as you can imagine, decrease the value of what's on market. Number 24, custodial versus non-custodial. Who's actually holding the money? Custodial means this: a company holds funds for you, like a CEX, or in the case of Know Your Market, if you are buying into Know Your Market to use the platform without the need of your own wallet. When you purchase a query pack with Know Your Market, you will actually get issued Kim AI tokens on chain. So it's all completely transparent, but we hold those on your behalf in what we call a custodial wallet. This is a common practice. Non-custodial, by the other hand, is you hold your keys in your wallet. So it's all yours and you don't need to give the keys to anybody else. The funds that are in there, you hold. The trade-off is this. It's convenience versus control. Savings that belong in non-custodial wallets are yours. Pocket money trading may live, for example, on a CEX if you accept the trust. So by contrast, you would put money onto a centralized exchange that would then be custodial, and you perform your trades from there. Number 25, security hygiene. Boring beats brave. So be boring when it comes to crypto security. Use a hardware wallet for meaningful amounts. If you've got a lot of money sitting there, use a hardware wallet. Keep your seed phrase offline. Never type it into a website that needs to check something. Don't do it. It's just trying to get your information. Always double check URLs when you're doing something with crypto, because people can fake URLs, make you think you're on Binance when you're in fact not. And these are generally phishing sites that will take your information. Always test small amounts when you're first doing something, like, for example, bridging or trying a new chain. Use small amounts first so you don't lose much if it goes bad. Always revoke old token allowances periodically. If you are using crypto frequently, you will have a wallet. That wallet will be connected to other contracts or other applications. Always revoke those token allowances. It says periodically, but actually do it as often as you can. And ultimately, this is the big one. If something offers guaranteed returns, walk away, because you can't. It's the crypto world. It's no different to the real world. You cannot guarantee returns. You can guarantee certain things within which how a platform might operate. And that's what we do with Kim. We guarantee how the platform operates. We cannot guarantee returns, but in the case of Kim, we lock in a method that ensures that usage of the platform drives increased value of the token. So there is, in fact, a pathway to growth, but we're not guaranteeing returns. But for the business to be successful, the token itself will also be successful. Number 26, NFTs, beyond pictures. Tickets, memberships, and in-game items. So NFTs, or non-fungible tokens as they are called, are ownership certificates. So beyond art, they can be things like tickets to events that can be resold and tracked on chain. Events such as sports games, for example. They could be membership passes to communities or services. They could be game items that you can actually sell. So in computer games, you might purchase things. They would come in the form of NFTs, which you can then trade later on. Or they could be proof of attendance badges. All of these things are, as the name implies, non-fungible tokens, meaning once you have this thing, it is undeniable proof that it is in fact yours until you pass it on to somebody else. The fun part is the utility of the design, not the picture itself. These NFTs being pretty pictures, really that was just a little bit of a fad that occurred. Yep, sure, people made some money out of it, but there is actually genuine value in NFTs, not just the meme coins, the memes that went along with them a few years ago. Number 27, throughput, latency, and TPS. How many checkouts and how fast they scan. Throughput, how many transactions can happen per second. Latency, how quickly a transaction is seen and then finalized. Why should you care? For day-to-day stuff like tipping and gaming, low fees and low latencies matter more than theoretical TPS. So if you're doing things that need to happen quickly, then you want low latency. By contrast, if you're doing something that isn't necessarily about gaming or needs to happen quickly, by contrast, you're doing many of them and they could be large value, then how many transactions per second matters because it will affect the price. Number 28, market structure. Order books versus RFQ versus AMMs. 3 ways to set a price. So first up, order book. This is very much similar to gambling. Buyers and sellers post prices. The engine then matches them. This is classic finance. RFQ, which is request for quotation. You ask market makers for a firm price. They fill you at that quote if they want to. And then you have AMM, automatic market makers. A pool with a pricing curve, and you trade against the pool. Each has its pros and cons. Modern DEX aggregators route across all three of those mechanisms. And number 29, the last one, the final reality check. Why are these terms useful? Well, knowing the lingo helps you avoid otherwise avoidable mistakes. You'll know why a DEX wants approval, what slippage can cost, when bridging is sensible and when it's not, and why your seed phrase is so sacred. You'll see the difference between Doge's Culture Coin and Ethereum's app platform. You'll understand why L2s make everyday use cheaper and why stablecoin design matters if you're parking cash. That was your crypto Rosetta Stone. Save this one. You might need to come back to it. I know it was long. It's the episode to send to your mate who keeps asking, what's gas again? Next time you hear, I staked an L2 DEX and bridged to grab an airdrop, you can translate to, you parked coins as collateral in the fast lane, used a code-based market, crossed chains safely, and got some loyalty points. Easy, right? That was today's One to Deploy, Crypto Demystified. I'm your host, Daniel Martin, and until next time, think sharp, build bold, one to deploy.